The Panthers fall in California, and Jessica Blaylock is coming by later on the show on another edition of the Florida Panthers Insider Podcast. All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Florida Panthers Insider Podcast. Can you believe, George, this is episode 6? Unbelievable.
How
of the
time
show.
is
Unbelievable. If you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Josh Licht. I'm the host of the Florida Panthers Insider, but the insider himself is the publisher, the extraordinaire author, aficionado, the big kahuna himself, George Richards is here. George, how are you doing, friend?
Well, hello, Josh. Did you get enough sleep today after that late night game with the Florida Panthers out in Anaheim, California?
I haven't slept in weeks between an 18-inning World Series game and Pacific Coast road trips for the Panthers. I don't think I'm meant to sleep anymore. And
we've had some late night games with the Dodgers. Absolutely. The Los Angeles Dodgers, your 2025 World Series champions. Luckily, they started those games at 8, whether they were in Los Angeles or in Toronto. So,
true.
But still, a lot of late night games. You had the 18-inning game, and man, I tell you what, man, what a World Series. And I'm just thankful when it comes to this Panther road trips. None of the games are at 10:30 because that extra half hour. Yes, it's only 30 minutes. That makes a huge difference. These 10 o'clock starts are okay. You're still done by about 12:45, 1 o'clock. Those 12:30 games just seem to drag.
It is late. I mean, it's hard, but it's always interesting when the Cats are on the West Coast because it feels like you spend the whole day waiting for the game.
Yeah.
And right when you think it's about to start, it's like, oh no, you got another 3 hours to wait before the game is going to get going. So
well, you can catch up on the other teams. So that was good last night watching some other hockey around the National Hockey League before the Panthers played. And listen, when the Panthers play the way they did in the third period last night against the Los Angeles Kings, a lot of people were able to turn it off because it was pretty much over 4, 5, 6 minutes into the third period. Josh, what was your takeaway from Tuesday night's 7-3 loss?
Yeah, it's just such a hard thing to kind of figure out because the Panthers played generally well in those first 2 periods. They were super competitive. Obviously, the game was tied, and then they went ahead at one point. But it does seem like there's still just like a disconnection when it comes to finishing. Brad Marchand obviously coming back into the lineup the last couple of games after missing the first game against the Ducks. He brings that finisher element to it. And what's really interesting to me, George, is like when we think of Matthew Tkachuk and we think of Sasha Barkov, like obviously both guys have the ability to score goals. But what they do very well is set up their teammates to be able to score goals. And now it seems like the whole team is kind of struggling with just that discombobulation of the lines. They just don't quite feel like they're meshing up. And particularly in the Ducks game, the late night game here in Anaheim, it seemed like a very big disconnect between what they were trying to do, giving up 5-on-5 goals. That's not the Panthers that we are familiar with. That's not the Panthers that we normally see. And as much as, they want to go, hey, we don't have Barkov and Tkachuk right now, which is true. And I don't think the team is making that as an excuse. That's kind of been what the fan base is saying. They're not coming back like anytime soon. And even if Matthew Tkachuk does return, who knows what that's going to look like. They're going to have to figure this out. And I think that's been the part that's been frustrating to watch is like, how do they get this to mesh and actually work for them? What about you, George?
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Jessica Blaylock here in a moment. But the one thing is, Florida Panthers woke up this morning dead last in the Eastern Conference standings. Again, 3 points out of a playoff spot. It's early. That doesn't, it's just one of those things. But they are last place in the in the Eastern Conference, and a big reason is their road record. I'll be writing about it for Florida Hockey Now on Thursday. Florida has not been good on the road thus far. Again, small sample size. This is game 1 of a 4-game road trip. They finished a 5-game road trip, 1-4. Florida being outscored 25-11 on the road. Well, George, there were a lot of empty net goals only in the first 2 road games. Florida's given up 4 empty net goals. The Panthers have been heavily outscored in the third period of these games. Every single game seems to, with the exception of Buffalo, seems to follow the same pattern. The Florida Panthers are right in it. They're right in it. They're right in it. And then the third period comes and the home team kind of takes control of the game. So I'm sure that's something that Paul Maurice has been looking at. Going into Thursday night's game against the Los Angeles Kings, always tough to play at Staples Center, whatever they're calling it now. So we're going to find out that the Panthers, maybe the depth, they're just not as deep as we thought, or again, small sample size. This is only their 6th road game. And again, the first 5 were all on the same trip, with a back-to-back in there. So we'll have to see what happens with the Panthers. I think this is going to be a good test for them, obviously, playing the Los Angeles Kings, San Jose Sharks, and Vegas Golden Knights. Every team on this trip is good. Even the Anaheim Ducks, they are much better than they've been. And give credit to Anaheim. The Anaheim Ducks took control of that game early in the third period. Florida looked like it was taking control in the second period when Eetu Luostarinen scores a power play goal to make it 3-2. Looks like Florida's really taking command as the Panthers dominated last 2. They dominated the Ducks in Sunrise, ended up losing 3-2 in a shootout, but dominated possession. Did a lot of things right, but they did a lot of things wrong too. Again, just one of those things maybe, but plenty of time left to go for the Florida Panthers.
Well, let's see what Paul Maurice had to say after the loss to the Ducks on Tuesday.
Performance there. What's your perspective of how this one unfolded?
I think at 3-3, it's a game. Probably even at that point, but we wouldn't like very much that happened after 3-3 in the manner that it happened.
And what did occur in your mind that was the biggest challenge?
We're into some pretty simple reads or simple one-on-one plays that we weren't anywhere near to a standard that we would have, and we spent too much time in the penalty box on soft penalties.
In the first period, you guys really controlled the play 5-on-5. What aspects of that period did you like?
I thought it was even. I thought we looked like we were moving right. I don't know that. I don't want to give up a breakaway on the second shift of the game, so we're not going to be bragging about the first period either.
Everywhere you play, you're expected to be the best team. Does that make it, when you have adversity, make it more difficult for the players to respond?
Everybody has factors that they deal with at the start of each year, and we know what ours are. Some of them are earned, and we're proud of them. So we expect to get everybody's best. It's just a factor.
Well, that's what we talked about, George, in our last podcast, right? Everybody brings their best against the champions. They want to knock them out. But there is a point where the Panthers have to have that be part of their game plan. I feel like that's what Paul was saying. Like, they know this. So they're going into games knowing that everyone's going to bring their best, and they're going to have to adjust to that. But at the same time, flashes of brilliance, but also flashes of frustration from the Panthers.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about that. And listen, the Panthers know they've got a target in the back. The Panthers have had a target on their back. The past couple seasons, everybody wants to beat Florida. And that was a huge win Tuesday night for the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, this is a young team. They've been rebuilding, kind of lost their footing. They're in a really big sports market, Southern California. They're in the Los Angeles television market. They're kind of low on that totem pole, right? And now they're an up-and-coming young team. They made a big splash when they hired Joel Quenneville. They've got a very good young team. You're really seeing this thing turn around for the Anaheim Ducks. Last night was huge for them from a buzz standpoint. Good crowd in Anaheim last night to see them play the Panthers, and they sent their fans home happy. Good win for Anaheim. Florida, is this a game that we talk about in March or April? Probably not. It's just one of those things, and you move on. And they've got Los Angeles an opportunity to bounce back come Thursday night against the Kings.
Well, let's talk about two bright spots, even amidst the loss between the game on Tuesday against the Ducks and again on Saturday, the shootout win against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. Two big bright points I want to get your thoughts on. The first is Brad Marchand. Awesome in the shootout, had an incredible breakaway goal against the Ducks. Brad has just been looking so great. What have been your thoughts seeing him come back? And then really he's been a driving force on the Panthers in the absence of some of the other stars this season.
Yeah, no, Brad Marchand has been absolutely terrific for the Panthers. And you look at that line that Paul Maurice put together for game one against Tampa Bay at Toulouse-Turunen. Anton Lundell and Brad Marchand, they have clicked from the beginning. They've been absolutely on fire. And again, they were the Tampa Bay Lightning had no answer for them in round one. And guess what? Toronto, Carolina, and the Edmonton Oilers didn't have an answer for that line. So coming into this season, you were like, can they continue this? They have. That line is absolutely terrific. You've got two defensive first players in Luosterainen and Lundell. But they have opened up their offensive capabilities by playing with a cagey veteran, Brad Marchand. He seems to have unlocked something in those guys. And they've all three have just been absolutely terrific together.
Yeah, and then the second thing I thought was interesting in the last couple of games is one of the very small adjustments that Paul Maurice has been able to make is retooling that third pair on the defense. Why don't you talk a little bit about the new face and just kind of the new look for that third pair?
Yeah, the last two games, Donovan Sebrango, the guy the Florida Panthers picked up off waivers from the Ottawa Senators, has been in the lineup in place of Uvis Balinskis. We're going to find out playing with Jeff Petrie. We're going to see how that works out. I don't know if this is a long-term solution, but Sebrango is a guy that Florida really liked. He only had 4 NHL games of experience, so Florida has scouted him playing in the AHL for the Belleville Senators. And when he went on waivers with only 4 NHL games of experience, 2 games last season and 2 games this year, including that game against the Panthers in Sunrise, the Panthers pounced. Florida, holding the last spot in the waiver order, is able to grab him. And they're going, like Paul Maurice says, they're going to play him. They want to see what they've got. I think they feel pretty comfortable in knowing what Uvis Balinskis has to offer. So they want to try Sebrango, see where it goes from there. And again, we're going to find out. He's being put to the test. He moves the puck very well. He's got good size. I think Florida really likes his build and his makeup. So time's going to tell, but Florida has found some gems in the past, and they're hoping they found another one here.
I think he looked really good. I was watching him, specifically in the last.
He moves the puck great, doesn't he?
He puts the puck on net. He makes simple plays, short passes, but the right ones. I really enjoyed watching.
He's very good. It looks like he's very good positionally. Again, limited sample size. We've only seen him 2 games here, but watching him in practice, I've noticed he's got good gap skills. He does a lot of the good things that you want to see.
Yeah, and it's cool that they were able to look at that and say, hey, this is a guy that fits in our system. We had Bill Zito on the program a few episodes ago, and one of the things that we talked about is they're not taking swings. Like they take calculated risks, believing in their decision making, and you just know that they wouldn't have picked up Sebrango unless they saw something that fit in the way they want to play hockey. And
it's low risk, high reward, right? If it hits, you've got yourself a defenseman on the cheap. If it doesn't work, you put him back on waivers, or you offer him back within the 30 days. You offer him back to Ottawa. It doesn't, there's no real risk here. So the Florida Panthers obviously saw something in him, likely from his days in Belleville playing in the AHL. I'm almost certain that's where they saw him the most, because again, he's had limited NHL time. So the Panthers, their scouts are everywhere. So I would think that was a Rick Dudley move. I don't know that, but if I had to guess, he's a guy that Rick Dudley saw. But we'll see how it worked out.
Do you hear that, George? It sounds like a phone is ringing. I think we have a special guest.
Do we? Is Jessica on the line?
Jessica's on the line. Let's get her in here.
Let's get her in here.
All right, joining us now on the Florida Panthers Insider Podcast. She is one of the hosts of the Florida Panthers broadcast on Script Sports. And of course, everybody loves Jessica Blaylock. Jessica, welcome.
Oh, that's always nice to hear. I appreciate that. I'll take that.
Well, I didn't want you on the show. I said, no, Jessica, but Josh was like,
I know.
no.
George, he and I have known each other for a decade plus now. So the fact that he still, after all this time, wants to hang out with me, I really appreciate it, George. Thank you so much for your sacrifice.
Well, hey, listen, the Panthers are out of town, so I don't get to hang out with you as much. So
that's true.
I figure we'll do it here on the. I don't know if this is a Zoom or whatever, but whatever it is. Here we are. Jessica, obviously you've been covering the Panthers for a long, long time. You've seen the good, a lot of good, some bad, but a lot more good, right? I mean, it's been quite the ride for the Panthers over the past couple of years. What's it been like for you? Is it working for the team and, working with, Fox, Bally's, Grips, yada, yada, yada?
Yeah, honestly, it's still surreal to think about the fact that this team has gone to three straight Stanley Cup finals and have won back-to-back championships, because, you go your entire career and wonder if you're ever going to get the opportunity to cover a championship team, let alone a team that wins back-to-back titles in their respective sport. And to know that, this is my 11th season covering the team. And I did cover, some tough seasons, some seasons where, you knew you weren't making it to the playoffs. You knew, there were going to be some rough nights throughout the course of the season. And just to see what the team has become, to see what Bill Zito has done, to get to work with Paul Maurice and his coaching staff, who are all amazing, to have the dressing room that we have where you walk in and it's just so much fun. And it's such a good group of guys, and to have ownership like Vinny and Teresa Viola, who, I keep saying it, they did exactly what they said they were going to do. They brought a championship to South Florida. They commit to players, they reward players, they pour into the community. I mean, we're just in such a wonderful place, and we're in such a great situation with the Florida Panthers. And I feel so lucky to be a part of it, and just so incredibly blessed to have had the chance to experience this run alongside the team.
Jessica, you're from Jacksonville, Florida. You went to the University of Florida. You covered the Orlando Magic. You did college football for ESPN. If we would have told you 15, 20 years, whatever it was, that you'd be synonymous, like Steve Goldstein is, with the Florida Panthers, a hockey team in South Florida, what would you have said?
I would have laughed and said, that's really funny because I can't tell you anything about hockey. I joke around all the time about how I didn't watch my first hockey game until 2013. I did not grow up with the sport. I could not have told you what a power play was. So if you had told me, 15, 20 years ago, you're going to be a full-time hockey host at some point in your career, I would have been like, okay, that's the one sport that I know absolutely nothing about. And it's so funny. You make plans and then life just laughs at you, because life's plans are so much better than what you could have envisioned. And I can't imagine now my life without hockey, specifically Florida Panthers hockey. And I have fallen so head over heels in love with the game. I've fallen so head over heels in love with getting the opportunity to cover this sport. And it's been honestly, it's been one of the most fun chapters of my career, of my life, getting to cover hockey. So I think it's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this team and so passionate about this sport. I look back now and see all of these great years of hockey that I missed out on. And I just don't want people to miss out on the sport and on this team and on what a great group of people we have with the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, and I think the great thing, listen, when I started covering the Panthers way back when from the Miami Herald. Now I'd watched some hockey. We had the Panthers since '93. I had watched, but I had never covered a hockey team. And they were so welcoming. Jacques Marchand and his crew. You came in, I believe, with Gerard Gallant and Dale, and I mean, so you couldn't ask for a more welcoming couple of folks to really help along. Correct? I mean, Gerard Gallant, a prince. Dale Talon, we love him. Just the most helpful people in the world.
Well, and not just that. Hockey is there's such a blue collar feel to hockey and such a humility to these players, and they're so welcoming. And there were a couple of guys in particular, I always think of Sean Thornton as an example, who they were like, they knew it was my first season, they knew I was kind of just a beginner when it came to hockey, and they were like, if you ever have a question, just let us know. Like, we understand the situation that you're in. We understand that you're trying to learn and get better. And so I just appreciate that I walked into a dressing room that made me feel really welcomed and understood that even though I had maybe spent a couple years at that point watching hockey, there was still so much about the game that I needed to learn. And I felt like I walked into an environment where I was allowed to do that. It took me, I think like 5 or 6 months before I asked Jaromir Jagr a question, because I did not want to humiliate myself in front of Yogs. But it was awesome to just get to know all the guys and to just really to step into an environment and a situation that I felt really welcomed and that I could get comfortable and learn how to grow.
You never knew with Yogs though either, right? I mean, you could ask the greatest question about something, and he would go off on a tangent the completely other way. I mean, you never knew with him. He was the best.
Yeah, he really was. But I just didn't want to make a fool of myself in front of Jaromir Jagr, right? Like, I didn't mind making a fool of myself in front of Nick Bukestad, because Bukestad was the best. Yeah. But I mean, like, but yeah, it took me time to muster up some courage before I asked Yogs the question.
Well, Jessica, how did you get connected into hockey? Was it from the baseball broadcasts coming over that way, or what kind of got you connected to the Panthers?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. There's a different story for how I started watching hockey versus how I got involved covering hockey. So why I started watching hockey was, like I mentioned, back in 2013, round 1, Boston, Toronto, ended up going to 7 games, and it was an epic comeback for Boston, right? I think they scored 3 goals in the 3rd period and ended up winning it in overtime. And I saw the highlights on SportsCenter, and I just remember thinking to myself, man, I just missed like an epic game, right? Like all time, probably, instant classic. I was like, I've never really given hockey a chance before. And my dad is originally from right outside Boston. He's from Beverly, Massachusetts. So, you know what? I'll just watch the Bruins and kind of follow along. Well, sure enough, the next round, I believe they played the New York Rangers. Game 1 goes to overtime. And who ends up scoring the OT winner for Boston? Brad Marchand. So
he does that.
Boston ended up going to the Stanley Cup final that year. They lost to Chicago, but I watched every playoff game for the Bruins for the rest of the playoffs that year. Fell in love with Brad Marchand. He became my favorite Bruins player. The next year, ordered NHL Center Ice so I could watch every NESN broadcast. And that's actually how I got into hockey, was Brad Marchand, OT winner. And so it's super cool that has kind of come full circle for me, with Marchand actually being in our dressing room now. And then, yes, the opportunity to actually cover hockey stemmed from me originally moving down here for Marlins baseball over 10 years ago. And so I got the opportunity through Fox Sports Florida / Bally Sports to cover hockey, and haven't looked back since.
Go looking at full-time hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're staying up late for hockey now. Last night, Tuesday night, the Florida Panthers go to Anaheim, California, IA, and they play the Ducks. They lose 7-3. Late night game. This is a late road trip for the Florida Panthers. Jessica Blaylock with us here on the Florida Panthers Insider. Jessica, what did you think of the Panthers play on Tuesday night? A little choppy. For 2 periods, I thought they were right in it, and then that third happened, and woof.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre game to try and characterize, because when they went up by a goal in the second period, I think it was the Lusty power play goal maybe that gave them the lead. I thought they were going to win it. I thought they were.
Sure.
I thought they looked like they were starting to take over the game, especially in that second period. I really thought, okay, they've got this one. Like, they're going to lock it down, and then sure enough, Anaheim, just give the Ducks credit. They've got a ton of young, super talented players that are really hungry, obviously playing well under Joel Quenneville. It ended up turning into a very atypical Florida Panthers performance, in the sense that, and Goldie and Randy pointed this out on the broadcast the other night. The Panthers haven't given up much at even strength. And 5 of the 7 goals for the Ducks were scored 5-on-5. And so it's almost like once the Trouba goal was scored, that made it 4-3 in the third.
5-3. 5-3. Yeah, 5-3.
Was it 5-3? Okay, I'm sorry. I went to bed at 3 a.m. So my mind is a little is a little out there right now. But yeah, I think it was the Trouba goal that made it 5-3, and then they score a couple more, and it really just becomes out of reach at that point. And you're just chasing the game late in the third period, and that's tough to overcome. So just an odd game, right? A lot of back and forth, a lot of ups and downs, and in the end, didn't look like a typical Florida Panthers performance.
It did not. And you look at the Panthers, they come into today last place in the Eastern Conference. Hard to believe they're 2 points out of the playoffs or whatever, but still the standings say the Panthers are in last place in the Eastern Conference. Is Jessica Blaylock pushing that panic button?
No, not, and it's so funny.
I knew the answer. I just figured that out.
Yes. Well, and it's so funny, because I actually brought this up with Sam Bennett the other day. You were there, George. We both went in the dressing room, and we were chatting one-on-one. You were talking with Aaron Ekblad. I was talking with Sam Bennett, and I asked Benny, because one of the things that I had been thinking about lately was, there's always parity in the league, but I swear it feels like this season there's even more. The Sharks have gotten better. The Ducks have gotten better. All of those, Chicago's gotten better. All those teams where the last couple of years you're like, okay, this is almost an automatic 2 points, right? And I don't say that disrespectfully, but these teams have been.
There were games that the Ducks were that team last year. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They've been in a rebuilding mode. So you feel pretty good going in that you're going to be able to get the points. Not anymore, right? Like, there's
San Jose. That's
San
not a
Jose
guarantee.
is not an easy out by any means. And so I brought this up to Benny because, the start of this season, the 3 teams that finished top 3 in the Atlantic last year, the Leafs, the Lightning, and the Panthers, were at the bottom of the standings. And I was like, there's just no way that it's going to keep staying like this. And it just makes you realize how much parity there is in the league, and the fact that, had the Panthers won that game last night, they would have gone from being last in the Atlantic Division to in a playoff spot. So that tells you everything you need to know about how crazy things are going to be this season. And that was basically the point that Sam Bennett made was, yes, there's more parity, but the standings are going to change 1,000 more times before the end of the season. So I think we tend to get a lot more caught up in the standings than the players do.
In the day-to-day, sure.
Absolutely. Because it's the first thing. It's one of the first things that I do every morning is after every single game has gone final the night before, I get on NHL.com and I look at the standings because I just want to see. And so, I'm just going to echo what Benny says. It's going to change a lot more before the end of the season. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be constant shifting of teams that are in a playoff spot versus teams that are not, and vice versa. So no, I'm not remotely worried. Is this team going to have to continue to figure out their identity? Absolutely. But I'm not worried right now by any means.
So Jessica, you mentioned Sam Bennett. I know that you and Benny have a very similar passion for your pets with the Benny's Buddies initiative. Every time Sam scores a goal, everybody's freaking out because we know it means an adoption. So why don't you talk a little bit about your fur babies and kind of your passion for them?
Oh my gosh. All I want to do is hit the lotto or, win the 50-50 jackpot so I can just buy like a massive piece of land and adopt all of the animals that need to be adopted. I have a sweet senior, Mario. He is resting comfortably over in his dog bed right now. And he's like a newborn baby. Like when he's sleeping, I don't like bothering him because if I do, he'll start crying and then he wants to eat and then he wants to go out. And so he's sleeping peacefully. I'm going to let him stay over there. But, a little over 2 years ago, I lost, one of my other dogs, Sweet Chester, to cancer unexpectedly. And I remember thinking to myself, I was devastated, obviously, but I didn't want to dwell on the sadness. I just wanted to focus on knowing that as long as I had Chester, he always knew love. And so I had all this love that I still wanted to give because there's so many animals that need rescuing. And I was looking on a bunch of different rescue sites and I saw Mario and immediately fell in love. And went and met him and he left with me literally that day. And I took him to the vet. I knew he was older. And I took him to the vet for his checkup and just to get him in the system. And they guesstimated that he was about 14, 15 years old. So I rescued him, obviously, as a senior. And I've had him for over 2 years. And it's been amazing to watch how something can come back to life when it's loved. Right. And November is senior adoption month. And so I think it's just a wonderful time to remind people, first off, please adopt, don't shop. The shelters are not only packed, they're overcrowded. There's so many animals that need to be rescued. And the second reminder to just don't forget about the seniors because they're especially grateful and they recognize, what a huge second chance it is at life. And it's really, really cool, especially with the older ones, to see what a difference love can make and to watch them come back to life. Right. And so even though I knew when I picked Mario up, we were always on borrowed time, the fact that for 2+ years now, I've gotten to love him and give him all the snuggles and he's had a full belly and he sleeps in the bed with me and, he will not want or need for anything. It's really made me a lot more passionate about rescuing seniors if given the opportunity.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have two. So I have 2 dogs, Jessica. One of them is a senior dog. So I know she's 13 and then we have a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd named Gretzky. So,
awesome. Awesome.
A hockey player, right?
I mean, I've had Lemon since she was 2, but she is turning 15 in December. So she's a little old lady, but I didn't necessarily rescue her as a senior, but I've had her since she was 2.
There you go.
There you go. She's very cute.
She looks terrified to be on camera. Okay.
We're just talking hockey, Lemon.
Yeah, it's just talk. It's just hockey talk.
Hockey talk.
Well, we're gonna do this.
She's just mad because Craig Minervini isn't here for her to bite on camera. That's what she's upset about. If anybody saw the bark at the park from several years ago, where Lemon almost bit Craig on air.
That was funny. Yeah. What?
So Jessica, we're gonna do. We have 3 burning questions for you. This is from our sponsor, the Infield. There in Sunrise, just a couple miles away from the arena, and so they've given us 3 burning questions to ask you. And so the first one is pretty easy, I think, and it's just simply, how do you like your chicken wings? Is there a way that you like your chicken wings? Like, what's your to-go order? And we know Randy Moeller's the king of dominating a plate of chicken wings, but what's your to-go order with that?
Okay, so funny story about wings. I used to always order boneless wings, and then my dad and my uncle told me that if I continued to do that, I couldn't be considered a true Blaylock anymore. So I had to start ordering wings off the bone. I really just like a classic buffalo style wing. Like, the flavor is so good. And George, did we have a chance to go to Mother's together in Buffalo several years ago?
We certainly did. Remember it was a blizzard that night.
Yes, and
we all like, the cabs had to drop us off like 2 blocks away.
Yes, and the straight buffalo wings were they were so good. They were so good. So if it's not broken, I guess don't fix it. So I would just say a classic buffalo style chicken wing.
Okay, ranch or blue cheese?
Oh, ranch. Blue cheese, to me. Blue cheese is so dominant of a flavor that if you put blue cheese on something, in my opinion, all you taste is blue cheese. So 1,000% ranch.
Okay. What is a sports memory from your childhood? Like, whether it's sports, if you were playing a sport, or maybe like watching a team win a championship, or a big moment. Like, what's a big sports memory from your childhood?
Can I do 2? Can I do one that's super significant and then one that's personal? So
sure.
The personal one for me, I was a competitive swimmer growing up, and I was a butterflyer. And when I was 17 years old, I set a record for my swim team in the 50 fly that ended up standing for like 15 years. Awesome. And I'm still really good friends with my swim coach. And when she texted me several years ago to let me know that my record had finally been broken, it was a very, very sad day for me, but I'm really proud that I held the record for fastest 50 fly for years for my swim team. So that's the personal one. And the one that just was a significant moment, because it also kind of helped shape what I wanted to do with my life. It was when I was 17 years old. I think it was 1999, 2000. The Florida Gator basketball team went to the national championship game against Michigan State. Now, they lost to Mateen Cleaves, Tom Izzo, Michigan State, but I fell in love with that Gator basketball team all season. And I remember thinking to myself, because I always knew I wanted to be a reporter, but I remember thinking at 17 years old, it would be so much fun to get the opportunity to cover a specific sports team. And that's what made me want to be a sports reporter, was that Gator basketball team that made it to that national championship game. So that's a significant one, because not only did I love Gator basketball, did I love the University of Florida, but it helped me decide that I wanted to cover sports for a living.
First mention of Florida basketball on this podcast.
Really?
I think we've mentioned Gator football, but I don't think I think this is the first mention of Billy Donovan's book.
I would still follow Billy Donovan to the ends of the earth, like to this day.
Heck of a program he built.
Yeah.
Yep, no doubt.
All right, and the third question, Jessica, is if you had a day with the Stanley Cup and you could take it anywhere and do anything with it,
no travel restrictions, anything.
No restrictions.
George, do you know what I'm going to say? Do you know where I would take it?
Gainesville. I don't know. To take it to
I would hop on no restrictions whatsoever.
No,
No
you get a week
restrictions.
with it, and then you can go anywhere with it. They're
So
all expenses paid.
No money restrictions.
Nope.
No restrictions where I can take it. I'm
Nope.
going to Paris. I'm taking a picture with the cup next to the.
I love Las Vegas too. That's a great casino.
I was thinking more Paris, France, because I'm obsessed with Paris, France. But yes, Vegas would also be a fun time.
Yeah, you love Paris.
I'd load it up on a private jet, grab a couple of my friends, and we would take it over to Paris. Why not?
Have some champagne. Yeah.
Oh, drink some real nice champagne, and maybe a good Bordeaux or a Côte d'Aron out of the cup. That would be incredible.
I'd take it to Paris.
You can kind of you could be an ambassador for the sport. I don't know if the French people have even heard of hockey. You can bring the Stanley Cup around, and they'd be excited about it.
If you need me to go to France and be an ambassador for the game, I will gladly take that assignment. Tell me where to sign up.
All right. I'll tell Gary Bettman about it. Jessica Blaylock taking the cup to France. French ambassador.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. And we really appreciate you taking the time. And of course, all the fans love watching you every single broadcast there on Script Sports. And so thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. Have some Celsius for us. And late night with the cats. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yes. All right. See you guys.
See you later. Thank you, Jessica.
All right, George. Well, that was awesome. Jessica's awesome. Great having her on the show. And definitely. I know everybody loves watching her and the broadcast, and they've done such a good job, even with all the transitions between Fox Sports and Bally and now the Script Sports and the Panther Plus app and all the different things. It's really nice that the Panthers have had a lot of consistency in the broadcast crew, and Jessica brings a lot to that. So glad she was able to join us today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the thing I think a lot of people were questioning when the Panthers said they were going to go to an over-the-air model. It was like, well, what happens, with the talent that all the fans have grown to know and love? And obviously that starts with Steve Goldstein and Randy Moeller, but it's also Jessica and Katie and Ed Jovanowski and that whole crew. So I enjoy the broadcasts. I'm not just saying that. They're very informative, and you can tell they care. That's for certain.
And sometimes you go on like the ESPN Plus, you watch other games, and you're like, man, these guys aren't living up nearly to what the guys are doing on the Panther broadcast. So
something's missing.
Yeah, something's missing, and it's definitely that spark. So thanks, Jessica, for joining us. So let's just talk about this, George. There's a couple of more of these West Coast late night giant cup full of coffee kind of games coming up. All of them West Coast, all of them teams that the Panthers need to try to milk 2 points out of in their interactions with them. And for a Panthers team that's been struggling on the road, what do you think are some of the keys? Let's start with the Los Angeles Kings a little bit. Anze Kopitar's final season, he announced before the beginning of the year. The Kings are a team that's looking to make an impact this year. They need to make an impact this year with Ken Holland kind of promising ownership that they were going to be competitive. What are your thoughts on this upcoming matchup?
Well, it's obviously a big game. For the Panthers. We talked about earlier in the show, Florida's, again, not many games, but Florida's only got 1 win in 6 road games thus far. Well, guess what? The Los Angeles Kings only have 1 win on home ice, playing at Staples Center. So the LA Kings have been a disappointment at home. Not as bad as the New York Rangers, perhaps, but the LA Kings have not been good in Los Angeles. So the Florida Panthers have an opportunity here to maybe get win number 2. We'll see. I mean, it was going to be a good game regardless, but Florida, again, third period has been killing them on the road. I don't know how you address that or what you do to fix that, but maybe it's just an early season hiccup. Who knows? I mean, but obviously these are, a big game Thursday in Los Angeles, 10 o'clock on ESPN Plus. This This is a streaming only game, so this will
Hulu
not
as well.
on scripts. Right. ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus this year is getting NHL action. And then Florida, the local broadcast comes back Saturday night, a rare Saturday 10 p.m. game against the San Jose Sharks, a team that's getting better, but they are nowhere near. They're nowhere near as bad as they were, but they're nowhere near being a playoff team, especially in the Western Conference. And, so Florida maybe, finds their way back here on the road with games in Los Angeles and San Jose to close the weekend before Monday night in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey, on the San Jose topic, that Macklin Celebrini kid is insane, isn't he? I mean, just unbelievable.
So smooth.
Looks like an amazing pick for the Sharks. Put
Good
them in a
kid,
position to
works
build
hard.
around him.
Yeah, good for San Jose because they, that was a situation where, excuse me, for a couple years they were just absolutely brutal. And I think last year their record was brutal, but watching the San Jose Sharks last year was an entertaining experience. And the same could be said this year. Their record is a little bit better, but that's a fun team to watch. And in a couple of years, San Jose is certainly going to be a team to reckon with.
Yeah, definitely going to be a powerhouse of skill. I think it's funny. I don't think you're much of a gamer, George, but I do think this is kind of funny in the NHL 26 game with Matthew Tkachuk on the cover holding the cup. They totally redesigned the Be a Pro mode, and if you play it, you get a text like every day from Macklin Celebrini for some reason. Like they built it into the game, and he actually recorded the voice for it. I just think it's really funny. If you ever play it, I'm sure we have listeners that play the game. Macklin Celebrini is constantly like, "You can do it. This is the way to do it." And it's like, well, you've only played for a year, but okay, But obviously, the reason for that is that they know young hockey fans are already admiring him as a player.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
He's unbelievable. May even make Team Canada in the Olympics this year. Who knows? Looking great. So and then of course the Las Vegas trip to take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas obviously a big part of the Panthers story in their first run at the Stanley Cup. So it does feel a little special every time the Panthers get a chance to interact with them. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, they had a game against them here in Sunrise a couple weeks ago. What are you thinking coming up, heading into the belly of the Las Vegas Strip?
Well, we'll find out, a little bit about the Panthers in the next two games. But that's a game, obviously, that always means something to the Panthers. Vegas beating the Panthers in Game 5 back in 2023. Vegas is one of the top teams in the Western Conference, one of the top teams in the NHL. We'll see what happens, but I think Florida needs to concentrate right now on LA and San Jose. Worry about Vegas when you get there. That's just my thought.
That's true.
Seriously, just get a couple points here and then more, maybe Vegas is a bonus. That's kind of how I'm leaning.
I went to Vegas last year for my first game there, and it's a crazy arena.
It's a great atmosphere.
A lot going on. It's a great atmosphere. So it is a tough place to play. If you have never been there, or you don't really know, it is a hard place to play. We were
a lot of when they first moved there, people were going to be like, I think Roberto Luongo was the one that said they're going to go 41-0 at home just because all the hockey players partying either on the way in or on the way out, and they're looking forward to partying. That's really not the case. It's just a hard place to play. And, I don't think anybody thought that, they would have home ice advantage because of the crowd and all that stuff. But Vegas has done a nice job, and their fans are. Yeah.
We were staying at a casino nearby, and the game night, every employee in the casino was wearing a Golden Knights jersey.
Yes. When you walk,
and
then you walk out of the casinos and you've got street party, you've got all these bars that they built along the streets, and it's like, it's got a college football atmosphere, even though you're in Las Vegas. I don't know how to explain it other than, it's just different from most places you've ever been, and it's only in Vegas, baby.
Well, it's a tough game, and it's going to be a tough week for the Cats. We know everybody will be tuned in to see how it goes. And then coming off of that, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, next week, but they get to see Alexander Ovechkin, who scored his 900th goal tonight, makes his way down to Sunrise. So a lot of big games coming up for the Florida Panthers. Make sure that you keep following the podcast. You can follow the Florida Panthers Insider on anywhere that you get podcasts, anywhere that you subscribe. You can go ahead and follow along. And of course, you can follow on YouTube as well. Make sure you check out Florida Hockey Now. That is your source for Florida Panthers news, breaking news, information, analysis, great stuff from George and his team over there. So make sure you don't miss out on what's going on at FHN. And keep following along. We've got some great stuff on the horizon for the podcast, more guests that we're working on lining up, and we want to get more input from some fans as well. So we're going to have some of that coming up. We got some fun
maybe
ideas,
a live show, Josh. Is that what we're hearing?
We're working on that. Yeah, I think over the holiday time, we're going to do a live show. We'll let people call in and give their opinions on the Panthers and their thoughts. They can ask George their 3 burning questions,
that would be fun.
You got them. So it'll be fun. So we got a lot of great stuff. So we don't want you to miss out. So make sure you subscribe to the Florida Panther Insider Podcast. We love you guys. And thank you so much for listening, Panthers Nation.
Happy trails, eh?